graduation, my father announced that ambition had skipped a generation in our family and pulled my younger brother forward as proof he still had hope for the next one. People laughed. My mother stared at the floor. I left with $240 and never moved back. That speech was only the loudest version of our family rule. My brother got the private tutors, the new truck at 16, and praise for being unnatural. I got weekend shifts at the hardware store and reminders that being disciplined mattered. Because I'd need to take care of myself. If my brother failed a class, he was misunderstood. If I made honor roll, I was showing off to make him look bad. Then my mother called my new landlord and said I was unreliable and had a history of skipping out on rent. My landlord put her on speaker and said, "People who lie this comfortably assume nobody's keeping records." So I started keeping records. I saved every voicemail and every letter. I worked nights at a records processing firm, studied fraud detection, and learned exactly how altered dates, copied signatures, and reused personal information gave away quiet theft. Then my parents' auto parts business showed up in one of our case files. I recognized the address before I even opened the folder. There was a borrower authorization with my full legal name on it. The signature looked close to mine. It wasn't mine. The application listed me as a minority partner who had approved company assets as collateral. My social security number was attached. My credit report showed years of accounts I'd never opened, leases, a business card, a refinance. My father had kept his own credit thin on paper and quietly used mine instead. One active line had climbed to $310,000. My family had written me out of the picture publicly, then used my name privately whenever it was worth something. I froze my credit, filed an identity theft report, hired an attorney, and let the lender start their own investigation. A month later, my younger brother called for the first time in 6 years. He asked me to sign a statement saying I'd verbally approved the loan. "It's just paperwork, it doesn't mean anything," he said. I asked why they'd used my name at all. He went quiet, then said, "You weren't really using your credit for anything." He also mentioned his wedding. Our parents were supposedly covering the venue and catering. Bank records I later pulled showed transfers from the disputed credit line straight to the vendors. His wedding was being paid for with my stolen identity. 3 months later, an invitation showed up in my mailbox. My attorney thought they wanted me there to make it look like I'd consented all along. I went alone with copies of the fraud report in my bag. My mother met me near the guest book. Look who finally remembered he has a family. I remember exactly what kind of family I have. My brother pulled me in for a photo and muttered, "Don't turn today into old drama. Then don't fund it with my name." Minutes later, my father steered me into a side room and laid out a statement claiming I'd approved the loans, but was confused. To personal stress, he offered me $40,000 to sign it. The invitation had never been about reconciliation. It was bait. When I refused, he reached for my document case. I held the handle. My brother came in and locked the door behind him. "Just sign it. They already paid deposits we can't get back." I asked if his fiancée knew where the money had actually come from. He looked at the floor. Then the door opened. His fiancée's father stood in the hallway, a commercial loan officer by trade. He recognized the forged authorization the second he saw it, having handled the venue's financing paperwork himself. 10 minutes before the ceremony, the venue froze the final payment. The guarantor listed on the loan was Marcus D. Reyes. "Did you authorize this?" he asked me. No, I handed him the forged form and the statement my father had just tried to get me to sign. He read both pages twice. Then he looked at his daughter. "Did you know about this?" My brother's fiancée said she hadn't, but my brother had known for 3 months. My father had told him I'd sign it after the wedding once it was already done. 200 guests were seated. My brother walked into the hall alone, stopped the band, and took the microphone. His fiancée followed, still holding her bouquet. Her father spoke instead. "Why is his estranged brother listed as guarantor on the loan paying for this wedding? And why is his signature forged?" The room went silent. My brother admitted he'd figured I'd let it go once the money was already spent. My father called it a misunderstanding. My mother said nothing at all. The bride's father stepped back. He canceled his daughter's involvement in the day right there. My father accused me of being jealous of my brother, the same accusation from the graduation speech. Nobody laughed this time. I hadn't authorized any of it. I'd reported the fraud weeks before the invitation ever arrived. And that morning, my father had tried to buy a false statement from me. I held up the affidavit, still unsigned. The auto parts shop was sold off within a year to cover the restitution. My father was barred from managing business accounts for a decade. My mother's name came up in the loan officer's formal complaint. Years later, I got married at a courthouse. When the clerk asked if I wanted to change my name, I said no. My father had treated Marcus Reyes like a line of credit he could draw on whenever it was convenient. Now that name only shows up where I decide to sign it.